You're listening to the Pittsburgh Piledriver.
What the hell is that?
Podcast.
Hidely do, hidely ho. That's right. It's episode 2, you schmo. Oh, not the best rhyme in the world, but hey, it'll have to do. Okay, get off your high horse and stop looking down on me. You don't come on here week after week and do intros, so don't give me any of your. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Pittsburgh Piledriver Podcast. This will be our second episode of this week. We have a lot to unpack from War Games. Maybe a little bit from Monday Night Raw. We have some stuff to unpack from Dynamite. We have some speculizing to do. I'm not Poot. I'm not the wordsmith. Okay. So again, get off my back. You don't know me. So yeah, let's do some wrestle talks because I love weekly wrestle talks. On tonight's episode, I am excited to announce that we once again have the mid-card maniac himself, Pat. He has stumped the what are we now as chumps by sending in questions. And we answered the question very poorly. And now he is on the show to give his insight, to do gloating, to make Beef's heart palpitate with all the rage. You yourself can also come on the show if you send in a question to us for Stumping the Chumps. And if you stump us, show up on the show. Do whatever you want. You can show up for a couple seconds and just rub it in about how dumb we are and then leave. You can stay for the entire show and talk to us about wrestling. Hey, the world is your oyster. We'll talk about how you can get your way onto this show if you so desire. At the end of this episode, we'll have our illustrious champion himself give you the ins and outs on how you can get onto this show. But let's go ahead and get to the meat and potatoes of this meal that is the Pittsburgh Piledriver Podcast second episode for the week. You have Pat, the mid-card maniac. I, of course, am the Herald himself. I'm the Silver Ransom, and I bring to you, ladies and gentlemen, the reason why week after week you tune into this show. I am here to tell you that the very knowledgeable, always insightful, and forever entertaining champion of the Pittsburgh Piledriver Podcast himself is here with us tonight, and you're going to listen to what he has to say because he's your galactic overlord. And if you don't like it, well, maybe you could try to do better and beat him in the Cruiserweight Open. I mean, good luck. You're not gonna. You can try, but it's not going to happen. But give it your best shot. It'll be all for naught. But, you know, at least at the end of the day, you can say, I tried, but I failed. That being said, Beef Lactus, the World Eater, the Cruiserweight Champion himself, he is here with us this evening. Tiger Bomb Tom is out. Poop the Bard is out. You've got the triple threat coming at you tonight. Ransom, Beef, and the Mid-Card Maniac. Let's go ahead and talk some War Games.
Yeah, man. And you, once again, kill it on the intro. My man. You made some salient points at the end of the last broadcast where you were talking about the bloodline. And I think that absolutely we will continue to talk about that because it bears further expounding. And I've, you know, so I'll mention this again. I don't know if I've done it on the show or not. If I have, well, get over it. This Sami Zayn thing was supposed to be like 3 weeks or a month and done. And his triumph, the work that he puts in, that he's always put in, to every character he's ever done ever. Whether it be El Generico, whether it be fucking, you know, the communist dictator of Cuba. You guys remember that? It was great.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The homeless. He looked homeless.
Regardless of what he was doing and what he is doing, he puts his all into it. Wrestling fans latched on. And the powers that be, which were making the changeover at that point, saw fit both sets of powers that be decided, you know what, this is pretty great, let's roll with it. And it absolutely has been. So yeah, Ransom absolutely made the point that when this happens, when Sami Zayn is kicked out of the bloodline, and I'm convinced that that's the way that it has to happen, especially right now because we got the warm and fuzzies. Oh, Jay has finally accepted Sammy Uso into the group. The tribal chief trusts him completely. Like everything's coming up Millhouse. Like now is the time when something goes wrong, and we start to build to Mania proper. And I am so excited to where the storyline is going to go.
So, I've read a multitude of different things on people speculating on the internets. The biggest one that I have read, aside from the bloodline turning on Sami Zayn, is that Solo turns on the bloodline and betrays Roman Reigns. I'm thinking maybe that could have been like the original thought, but after seeing all the emotion that has poured into the storyline with Sami Zayn, I feel like it would be kind of a letdown if Solo is the one that turns on the bloodline and not bloodline versus Sami. However that winds up, whether it's the bloodline turns on Sami or Sami wins the Rumble and challenges Roman and winds up somehow beating him, whatever it is. I feel like the route where we go Solo turning on Roman would be kind of a little bit of a letdown in this story arc. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Pat?
I would say maybe he does stay with the bloodline, but what if he does win the Royal Rumble? Or what if he does win an Elimination Chamber? What does the bloodline do then?
Who are you talking about? Sami?
Yeah.
Well, so I guess my question is that a lot of people speculating on the internet, the highest ranking one other than bloodline turning on Sami or vice versa is Solo turns on Roman. Would that be a letdown at this juncture with the current storyline they've built up?
Yes, because there's no reason for it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Where do you see Solo betraying him? Like, what reasoning is there behind it? There isn't. So it would make no sense.
Like, I've always liked the idea of like Solo and Sami being kind of like their own little clique, like, Solo obviously, is brothers with the Usos, but like, who's to say that he doesn't harbor the resentment for being the little brother, so like maybe him and Sami have a little spark. I've always thought that would be a neat little like parallel to get down. But right now, absolutely, it's gotta be Sami. It's gotta be, and I at one point I had said that I think that I thought that Sami Zayn was going to be the one to take that belt off of Roman Reigns. I'll walk that back a little bit. I love Sami Zayn. I do. Like I've been a Sami Zayn fan since before his name was Sami Zayn. El Generico was always one of my favorites to watch. But I just forgive me. I don't think Sami Zayn is a big enough deal to beat Roman Reigns for those titles. At this point, I even question whether or not Kevin Owens could handle that mantle. I think Owens could be the guy, absolutely. But I think honestly, the way that everything's kind of been written in the stars and is trending, I think it needs to be Cody. Now, all of that being said, like, all this can still transpire with the bloodline. Like, absolutely, Sammy could get booted out, and at his lowest point find, his best friend in the world, who's there through thick and thin. No matter what, no matter how many times he said, "You're dead to me," he'll be there for you. I live that life. I know that life, Sammy. Kevin Owens will always be there for you. And they can dethrone the Usos at WrestleMania. Kind of a follow the House of Usher scenario where everything goes wrong at WrestleMania for the bloodline.
Or, now hear me out.
Ooh.
Cody wins the Royal Rumble and is going to face Roman at WrestleMania. Sammy and Kevin beat the Usos at Elimination Chamber for the tag titles, and that's what starts a slow burn into the eventual downfall of the bloodline.
I'm certainly here for that. It makes sense to do that a little bit. My only thing with that is I know that the Elimination Chamber is in Montreal, and that is Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens country. Like, that is absolutely going to be so. Like, I have a hard time believing that they're not going to be involved some way somehow in the Elimination Chamber. That's Ransom touched on this before. I think he said last week that, like, 2 weeks ago. No, he was on. Yeah, it was probably a chat. Anyway, you've said it before that, like, you can't wait to see where this goes. That's the beauty of this, is that it could go any number of ways.
Yeah.
And now that premium live events are actually feeling premium again, like, I think that's an even bigger reason to be excited. So, man, a lot of stuff could come. Now, the one, kind of bugaboo in this is the slap heard around the world.
Ooh, yeah.
Where Owen allegedly caught a slap to Roman that Roman wasn't expecting, that wasn't discussed. And Roman said he thought ruptured his eardrum. I don't think it did rupture his eardrum. But, like, you heard me. But, like, he went off backstage. He freaked out. He was yelling. He was screaming. Excuse me. Basically being pissed off. But here's the problem. Triple H, Roman Reigns is not a Triple H guy. Kevin Owens is a Triple H guy. So, like, if there's going to be a dispute, like a real life heat dispute, I get the feeling that Triple H would kind of fall on the side of Kevin Owens there and saying, well, yeah, he may have called an audible, but guess what? You need to be a fucking professional and not come back here and throw a fit. That's just my 2 cents and my opinion. But that absolutely could influence future, plans, because rumor had it that KO was in line for a shot at the Rumble, which probably meant that he wasn't going to win. Now, who knows what's going to happen.
So I did read an article, and I think I shared this in the group chat, and I can't remember who reported it, whether it was F4, F something, I don't know. I can't remember who the article was from, but I remember asking you, like, hey, is this a legit, source? But allegedly the Kevin Owens, Roman Reigns WrestleMania or Royal Rumble title match was scrapped because of the slap heard around the world. Now, whether or not that's just wild internet speculation or they actually did call that audible, I have a hard time imagining, like, and again, I don't know the guy, so who the hell knows? Like, I have a hard time imagining Roman Reigns going backstage and going like, oh, okay, this guy slapped me. It wasn't supposed to happen. It wasn't planned. I'm very angry. I refuse to work with him at Royal Rumble. Like, change my opponent. I'm not going to do it. That seems out of place. But then again, like I said, I don't know the guy. So what do you think?
I mean, if I think any wrestler has the capability to be a diva. I think that, being the top guy for 2.5 years now, close, may have put him on a mindset of like, hey, I'm the fucking top dog around here. And like Kevin Owens is a guy who's been in the business for years and years and years and years and years. So like he is a veteran in every way of the word. I don't know how this kind of and I think we'll get some more answers tomorrow night on SmackDown as to which way they're leaning. Maybe not. Maybe they'll just maybe they'll just roll with it. Who knows? But like like I said, man, reports continue to kind of leak out that like Triple H that the end of the Roman era is in sight. That they have plans in place for who's going to be Roman. And with that writing on the wall, I just don't see Triple H backing Roman Reigns at this point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think if this was AEW, I think all the fucking WWE marks would be like, look how terribly the company's run. Look at the top star going off on everybody backstage. This company's gonna fail in 2 years. This company's only Impact. But because it's WWE and because it's Roman Reigns and because Triple H is running things now, everybody's like, it happens. Like, it's bullshit. I hate it. I hate it. Like, I'm not trying to be divisive, but like that's just the way the wind blows sometimes, and a bug.
So I guess to move away from the personal backstage, unpleasantness speculation. I keep running through scenarios in my head on how this Sammy bloodline break could go down. And the two biggest ones that stick out to me, again, in my pea-sized brain, this could mean I could be spot on or I could be so far out in left field that I can't even see the field anymore. Is that A, Sammy wins the Royal Rumble and Roman pretty much says to him like, hey, great, you won the Royal Rumble. I get a free pass to WrestleMania. You can lay down, acknowledge me. I'm the tribal chief. You could just lay down for me. I'll have an easy night. And Sammy doesn't do it, says like, no, I earned this. I at least want to give it a shot, yada, yada, yada. And that leads to the bloodline turning on him. Or the second scenario that keeps popping into my head is the bloodline is involved in Elimination Chamber and whoever wins the Elimination Chamber gets to go on and have a title shot either on night 1 or night 2. Maybe if they're going to do 2 separate title shots and break this title up. And Sami Zayn is put in the match as kind of like the guy who's supposed to protect the bloodline. And he fails them. Like he gets eliminated as like the next to last person where he was supposed to be the guy that protected the bloodline, but he fails. And that failure causes them to turn on him because now Roman Reigns has to defend not only against the Rumble winner, but he has to defend, the separate title on night 2 or night 1 or whatever of Mania. Sami Zayn didn't live up to their expectations in protecting his tribal chief, and they turn on him and kick him out. What do you guys think is the most likely scenario, not of those two, but just in general, of how this betrayal of Sami Zayn, if that's the route they go, how do you see it coming about? If you had to put money on it, what would be your money scenario?
Go ahead,
The one
Pat.
I
Let's
gave
hear
you
it.
earlier,
Okay.
where Cody wins the Rumble, Sammy pulls the switch, turns on the Bloodline, wins the tag titles with Kevin Owens at Elimination Chamber.
So you are envisioning not the Bloodline turning on Sammy, but Sammy turning on the Bloodline
Yeah,
and teaming with KO to take the tag titles off the Usos.
yeah, and just like him, it's just a major play the entire time.
Okay, all right. Beef, what about you? Well, how do you see it going down?
There are so many ways, man. I ultimately think I have read, that Roman Reigns could pull double duty at WrestleMania. A la working both nights. And that could be a lot.
That's how they do a belt split. Like
That-
he defends
that
one
could
belt on
be-
night one and one belt on night two.
Or we finally get Roman versus The Rock on night one, to prove who is the true head of the table. And then, have it go south on night two. Or vice versa.
Oh.
Maybe you have Roman lose the belt on night one and then come back and beat The Rock on night two. There are a number of ways it can go down. I do think that Cody wins the Rumble. I do think he topples Roman Reigns, and I do think we get that moment, like the son of the plumber, like he's fighting for his bloodline too, and I think that that's going to be a great story, where you have the bloodline being what they are, and Cody saying, well, yeah, but you guys are acting like you're the first family in professional wrestling. Well, guess what? Like, the roads have been here, and we will continue to be here westward the wagons. So I think that Cody beats Roman at Mania. I honestly think the bloodline turns on Sammy at some point. And I like your idea about something happening in Elimination Chamber where Sammy is supposed to do something, but he can't, or he won't, or he just fails to do it. And that's where it kind of begins. So, and that may be another option. Maybe the Rumble winner, aka Cody, faces Roman on night two, but the Elimination Chamber winner, maybe Kevin Owens, wins on night one. Yeah, there are absolutely a lot of ways that it can go down. One thing I'll say for certain, if Roman Reigns pulls double duty on WrestleMania, I don't see him losing both belts. Well, let me walk that back. I don't see him losing both matches.
Okay.
I think
even though you think that the Triple H era of, even though you think the Roman Reigns era could be coming to an end under Triple H, you still don't think that he's going to wind up losing both the belt and, if he's in a second match, losing the second match as well.
Correct. I think at worst he gets a 50-50 weekend.
Okay.
Because, yes, obviously we know that Triple H backs the NXT guys. And yes, we know that Roman is not that. We know that Roman is a holdover from the old regime.
Wasn't he in NXT, though?
Not for any length of time.
Oh, okay.
Not whenever Triple H had his claws in it.
Oh, see, I thought all three members of the Shield all came from Black and Gold NXT.
I think they were there for the FCW changeover to NXT, so in name only.
Well, Seth Rollins, wasn't he the first NXT?
He was the inaugural
champion?
NXT. He was, yes, but he was also down there for a cup of coffee.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I really believe strongly that Triple H, because again, Triple H is a good businessman. He knows good business when he sees it. And the fact that they have built Roman Reigns for 2.5 years is good business.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be careful with that. That's why
So you don't want to bury him in one weekend.
Precisely. At worst, he gets a 50-50 split.
So, again, more wild speculation here. If somehow they wind up getting The Rock to face Roman Reigns at one of the nights of WrestleMania, are you anticipating it not being for the title?
I mean, maybe. And I mean, like I said, that could be like, night one where he defends against The Rock. And, at that point, he will have done everything only to lose the title on night two. Basically.
You don't see The Rock walking away with the title, though.
Oh, my no. Oh, my no.
Because I would have to imagine that the guy that beats Roman Reigns for the title is going to have to be somebody that they're planning on really setting up for either a big run or a real bright future.
Mm-hmm.
Because with Roman holding the belts for as long as he has and being on top for as long as he has, like, you don't want to have an already clearly established, been there for a long time guy take the belt. Like, I would imagine that the guy that takes the belt is going to be like, okay, we're going to usher in the future here. Like, this guy that we're going to put the belt on, that we're going to have beat Roman Reigns, that we're going to have end this long freaking title run, is going to be a guy that they really plan on building a big future on. Do you concur?
Yeah, but who is it?
That's the thing.
I mean, I don't think that this goes. Like, I don't think that this is gonna make the next Hulk Hogan, the next John Cena. Like, I don't think we're talking that levels of, like, overness. But obviously the rub has to be meaningful, and that's why I keep coming back to Cody, man. Like, how do you make his title run more meaningful? By being the guy who brings down the guy who has held the Federation hostage the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you make it feel way more important. And even if it's a short reign, like, Cody was still that guy to do that thing. He still had a WrestleMania moment that he won the title that his father never could. And, like, you'll never be able to take any of that away from him. So I
Right.
absolutely, I keep coming back to Cody.
So the only thing that has me hesitant on that is something that you said earlier, as Triple H is an NXT guy, or Triple H wants the NXT guys. Cody was not an NXT guy. Cody didn't come back under the Triple H regime. Vince McMahon brought Cody Rhodes back. So that's the only thing that gives me pause, is that Triple H didn't build Cody. Triple H didn't bring Cody back. Is Triple H going to follow through with, if it was the idea for Cody to eventually take the title off of Roman under the Vince McMahon umbrella, does that still hold true under Triple H's WWE?
But what was the other thing I said after that?
I don't remember.
That Triple H.
Oh, Triple H knows what's best for business.
Exactly. That
Okay.
Triple H understands the business, and I just, like, and they absolutely could create a scenario that makes me see something different. But, like, right now, like, and I mean, just think about how this lines up. Cody has always kind of, like, had this weird thing with Triple H, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, in AEW, he was the throne breaker. So like, remember way back when Triple H got hurt, comes back at the Royal Rumble as a surprise, wins it all, and then goes on to Mania to win it all. Like, how prophetic would that be for Cody to do the same thing? Cody to, get hurt, come back at the Royal Rumble, as a quote-unquote surprise, and then win it all, and then go to Mania and win it all. I just, the money, yes, is in the chase. Absolutely, absolutely. But I mean, realistically, like, you got to have this payoff for Cody. This is the whole reason why you brought Cody back, I think. To have this night, to have this moment where he can finally hoist the title that his father never could. I think that him getting injured would probably be the biggest blessing in disguise. And let's not forget this, that he absolutely could have fucking called off. Cody could have. And said, hey, man, I tore my pec. I can't wrestle Rollins. But he didn't. He said, nah, man, I can't hurt it any worse. Let's fucking go.
Do you think that endeared him to Triple H? Like, you think that would be something that Triple H would look at and go, all right, this guy gets it?
I think that any boss in any job, like, if you fucking get your arm cut off and you're like, hey, I got to go to the hospital after work, but, like, for right now, the bleeding subsided. Nothing's going to get worse. What can you do to help out around here? I think that's going to endear you, regardless. So, yeah, I absolutely think that probably, and again, like, when Cody was in WWE before, he was a small cracker. He wasn't like, your main platter. Mm-hmm. He was a fucking appetizer. He was some amuse-bouche.
Amuse-bouche.
He wasn't gonna be the guy. Mm-hmm. He went out. He found himself. He bet on himself. And again, I gotta believe that Triple H respects a little bit of that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that answers that question. And again, I'm gonna pose something else here. Another one of the many reports that I see floating around the wrestling interwebs is that Triple H has kind of made it his pet project to right the wrongs that have been Finn Balor on the main roster. So that's another thing that throws a monkey wrench in my very tiny cog that is my brain, is that what if Triple H's pet project for Finn Balor is to have Finn Balor win the Royal Rumble and go on to face Roman Reigns and win the title and right the wrong of the first ever Universal Champion, but he got hurt and then never got another shot at it again? Is that no?
You're not here for it, Pat?
Nope.
Really?
Oh,
not at WrestleMania.
So later down the line, you could see that maybe happening.
I could see that
this year.
That could be a SummerSlam thing.
Okay. All right. But as far as this year's Rumble and Mania goes, Finn Balor is not even in the equation for you.
Nope. Not at all.
Okay.
I am a notorious Balor mark, so I'm absolutely here for that. But I just like, it's fucking written in the stars, man. Like the promo that Cody cut when he came back, like injuring himself and being able to come back just in time for the Royal Rumble, like it just lines up too well. And like I hope that I'm not like fantasy booking myself into disappointment, which it's becoming Rumble season rapidly. We like to do that around here.
That never happens in WWE.
Right. But I mean, like, this is a sure thing, right? Like, there's only one other guy that I think could beat that could win the Rumble if it's not Cody, and I think that Cody would stand as number 2, and that would be McIntyre.
Wow.
Yeah, I just feel like that's another one of Triple H's like pet projects. Who he got over crazy in NXT, and he came up to the roster. He did business with Ziggler for a while. He finally got over, and he beat Lesnar at like the least attended WrestleMania of all time. And like that was kind of that, like it just that was where that ended. And it was just completely, kind of a fart, man. Yeah. So but I mean.
So you think that both Cody and Drew McIntyre have a better shot of winning the Rumble and beating Roman Reigns at Mania than Finn Balor?
Yes.
Yes.
Right now, I think if Vegas were to release odds on the Royal Rumble winner, I think that it would be one of those two, or those two in a horse race.
Okay.
I don't think anybody else would be close. Because I mean, again, but here's the thing with Drew. If they were going to do that with Drew, it absolutely should have happened at Clash of the Castle. Like, there's zero chance. Like, the bloodline was barred from ringside, and like he was in his quote unquote hometown, which he wasn't in his fucking home country, but whatever. But he had the home field advantage per se.
Right.
Like, people would have been nuts for that. And they didn't pull the trigger. That's when they had Solo debut and cost him the title. And I mean, I just have a hard time saying that if they didn't do it then, like why do it now?
Mm-hmm.
Especially since I think that Clash at the Castle was a success. They could easily angle for another one of those this summer, and maybe then is when you have Cody lose to, say, Drew McIntyre.
Okay.
Now I do want to touch on something else here. I know we've been hammering pretty hard on WWE and War Games, and I mean I think based on the fact that we had this much discussion and like good feels about it, I think you can tell that we really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about something else I'm really enjoying right now, and that's Maxwell Jacob Friedman. He is killing it, man. His first promo as champion. First of all, we had to wait a week, which I think was a clutch move.
Oh, yeah.
Regal came out on Dynamite last week. It was like, I bet you're all wondering what's going on with the AEW Championship. Well, the champion's not here this week. You'll have to tune in next week. Like, that's a power move.
Yeah.
And then, like, he comes out and he talks about last night how, like, he's not going to be around. He's not going to wrestle on Dynamite. He sure as hell isn't going to defend the title on Dynamite, even though he is in 2 weeks. But, like, you're going to have to go into your pocket to get to see him defend that belt. Like, he's embracing basically what the community sees as a part-time champion. And then at the end of the segment, uses the knuckles to hit Regal from behind in the head and or neck area. And of course the announcers are like, oh my God, William Regal has had 87 broken necks and 25 million brain bleeds, and this might be the end of William Regal, blah, blah, blah. Like, man, what a fucking dog.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we talked about it whenever we were doing the AEW picks. Like, this is absolutely the era of MJF, and this kid is going to he's going to do everything I think we expect him to do with making this run unforgettable. Like, I just, as long as AEW goes on, I think the title reign of MJF, at least the first one, we're always going to look back and remember it, because for such a long time, so many people were saying that like this kid is the future of AEW. He's going to be AEW champion. You know, it's going to happen. He's going to do great things with it, and I think he will. I think we will have a hard time forgetting about the MJF run as AEW champion, at least his first one.
Let me pose this. Do you think it was too early for him to turn on Regal?
Oh, no.
Because it fits his character. That backstabbing, I don't need anybody, I'm the greatest. It fits his character.
I can hear arguments both ways. So, like, there certainly could be a groundswelling saying, what was the point of Regal helping him win when you knew that Regal was just going to turn on him, or he was going to turn on Regal 2 weeks later? Like, I get it. But, and that fueled further speculation that we'll talk to you about here in a minute. But, like, I love the move because Regal talked to him and really talked down to him about being a villain. And he talked about how, you know, he, being Regal, was a proper villain and how MJF just wasn't there yet. And how, you know, MJF just needed to take the next step and really just kind of, like, hammered that home. And I think that him doing that absolutely, like, let him take that next step as, like, the supervillain, really. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, like he's the villain that turns on other villains.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like he's the heel that turns on other heels. He's the bad guy that not even the bad guys can trust.
Yeah, I think that's the point I was trying to make, but I just didn't get it out so eloquently.
Yeah, I don't think it was too early. I don't think it was too early to do that turn. I think there could be a number of, I think what probably Beef is going to get to here, a number of reasons why it could have happened this early. I think another reason why is probably just because at this juncture, William Regal is a mouthpiece. You know, he's very good at being that slimy mouthpiece heel that, you know, you love to hate William Regal. He's very good at making you hate him, but MJF doesn't need it. Like, MJF is so good on the microphone that he doesn't need a mouthpiece. He doesn't need a heater. He can come out and do that all by himself. He doesn't need somebody carrying the title to the ring for him. He doesn't need somebody to speak for him. He doesn't need that added character to bring him heat. I think maybe another reason why, too, is they want to keep MJF cemented as a heel. And he got a pretty big pop when he won that title. You know, there was quite the celebration in the crowd whenever MJF won. And I think just to cement him as a heel with the fan base, you have him do this. I think it's more of a statement. I think it's more of an impactful statement to have him turn on Regal this soon and in that manner, as opposed to have him just come out with Regal and, you know, rub it in your face. We got you, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to defend this on Dynamite. You're going to have to pay to see me. While that is a good promo, and the promo was great. I did watch it. I think this just cements him further in as, you're not going to cheer for me. Like, you're going to boo me because I'm even going to turn on the heel that helped me beat Jon Moxley. I think it was fine timing the way that he did it.
Yep.
That's all.
And that was exactly what I was thinking too, is that, like, it did a good job of making sure that he retained that heat, that he kept the heat. Now, speculation is that a few months ago, I don't remember when, William Regal went on to Jericho's podcast. And there was kind of like this weird like thing that he said about him not being here for long. Which, you know, with like the tone and tenor that he kind of talked about with Moxley and Danielson and their like Blackpool Combat Club, you know, fusing, really kind of had fans scared. Like, is there something going on with William Regal that we don't know about? What if he wasn't talking about his health, but talking about that he wasn't going to be in AEW long? And what if this is them writing him off so that he can head back to WWE?
So I did read, again, stupid internet speculation. I did read that, you know, William Regal didn't have a very lengthy contract with AEW, and that his contract with AEW could be coming up or is up. And with William Regal being so instrumental in building NXT with Triple H, training the young guys down there in NXT, you know, like that, William Regal did have a big hand in all that. It wouldn't be shocking to me for Triple H to want him back. You know, maybe he's not as a, you know, on-screen personality, but just as somebody that can either help Triple H on the main roster in, you know, a backstage role, or help Shawn Michaels in NXT in a backstage role. That would not surprise me in the slightest. If William Regal did decide to go back, if Triple H asked him to come back. And I think that would probably be the best way to get him off of AEW TV, by, you know, having MJF turn on him and having the announcers bring up the fact that this could be the last time we see William Regal. You know, he's had neck injuries, he's had head injuries, you know, like this could put him out for good. And if William Regal knows that he's going to be going back to WWE in a backstage role, he can absolutely ride off into the sunset as an on-screen character this way. And just from things that I've heard him say and the things that other, you know, young wrestlers have said about him, doing the deed for MJF, going out, laying on his face, being stretchered out, that strikes me as a William Regal move. That strikes me as him, you know, saying to like Tony Khan or MJF, like, hey, have him destroy me in the ring, and that'll be like, I'll put him over on my way out. That seems like a William Regal move. It wouldn't shock me if that's the last time we see him on TV in AEW, and it wouldn't shock me if he goes back to WWE. And I think Beef is right. I think what he said on the Jericho podcast isn't necessarily alluding to poor health. I think it's alluding to the fact that he's not going to be around in AEW for much longer. You know, whether or not it was the plan for him to come in for just a short time anyway, before Triple H took over, just to come in, help start the Blackpool Combat Club, eventually get MJF over. Well, he doesn't need to help get MJF over, but, you know, to do this little angle with MJF, and then that was going to be his run in AEW regardless. That all could have been a thing, which is maybe why he wasn't signed to a very long contract. But now with Triple H having taken over the reins in WWE, it would make sense for him to want William Regal back to help out.
Yeah, and I would be sad to see Regal go out, but you're absolutely right that this would be like a great way to do it. I just feel like there's still a story here. Like with the way that Danielson went to bat with Moxley last week. And Danielson was the first one that rushed out there to help Regal with the ambulance, like and with MJF naming Danielson, in his promo as somebody who wasn't on his level. All of this, it feels like that it feels like he almost needs to be part of that next thing.
Yeah.
That he needs to be an integral part of the Danielson MJF feud. A feud which I don't think Danielson should win.
No.
And I don't think he should be for the title at all. At all. It's just funny because Danielson's comments on the one podcast or whatever that he was on, where he said, "I don't want to be world champion. Like I'm probably not going to be a full timer much longer, but I'm going to wrestle till I'm dead." Like that was basically the hard and fast of it. I do want to see Danielson win the world title at some point. I think that'd be wonderful, but I don't want it to be at MJF's expense.
No, definitely not. And I have no problem with Danielson winning the AEW championship. I'd have no problem seeing a title run on Danielson. I think it would be fitting for him. But I'm with you. I don't think it would be good to be at the expense of MJF. It's also quite possible that with Danielson coming out to break up the stare down between Moxley and Regal, and then coming out to, help Regal into the ambulance, and with his comments of, like, I don't want to be world champion, I don't know how long I'll have left. They could be setting up, and again, this could be out of left field, I don't know. They could be setting up Bryan Danielson as the new de facto leader of the Blackpool Combat Club, whereas he does still wrestle, but maybe he's not going to wrestle as much anymore, and maybe he's going to be the leader, mouthpiece, guy in the corner of the Blackpool Combat Club members.
Which would absolutely make sense.
So, I mean, that they could be setting that up as Danielson's next story arc if Regal is now going to be out of the picture. I don't know. I'm wildly speculating, what could be's here.
Well, and yeah, exactly. I think that's like the biggest takeaway from our discussion on this show and the last is that I think that right now WWE and AEW are in places where everything that they're doing is great. Yes, there are some things here and there that we go, well, we change this if we could. But I mean, for the most part, like 85 to 90% success rate on pay-per-views, I'll take that every day of the week.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I mean, AEW has always knocked it out of the park with pay-per-views, and there's a clear distinction in pay-per-view / premium live events under the Triple H umbrella as opposed to what they were over the past few years under the Vince McMahon umbrella. Like we've so many times we walked away from a WWE pay-per-view. I'm going to keep calling it that. It's just easier. So many times in the past few years, we've walked away from a WWE pay-per-view under the Vince McMahon umbrella going, it wasn't terrible, but like, that's my feeling is, Poot has said it ad nauseum. I've said that, I think, Beef and Tom have even echoed that statement of like, wasn't bad, but I probably won't go back, in 2 years and rewatch this premium live pay-per-view. I won't go back and rewatch it again just because it was meh. But now you can see a clear distinction with the pay-per-views that Triple H has done in his short time as leader of the WWE creative team. They've gotten so much better. So yeah, like I echo Beef's statement of we're in a good spot now.
Mm-hmm.
Things are really working well, both in AEW and now they're working so much better in WWE. I did want to touch on, I guess, one more thing. We can keep going, but I do want to bring this up. In the past however many weeks, we've been talking about the gripe bomb and the fallout from that.
Ugh.
I've read several reports now that AEW is not going to be looking to buy out CM Punk's contract. I don't know if you guys have seen the same, but
no, I have not. In fact, I think I
read the opposite.
Yeah, like I think that Stokely said at some point or another that like the firm was supposed to be feuding with CM Punk, but like I think he straight up said, but that other guy got fired or something like that.
So I mean, but yeah, like I know that what's his nuts, Punk's buddy got fired.
Ace Steel, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, like I've read several reports, and again, I wish I could go back and run them by you, Beef, and just say like, hey, is this a reputable source? Because, I think you definitely know more than I do on whether or not this internet wrestling source is reputable as compared to others. But yeah, I've read at least a few that have said that AEW is no longer interested in buying out CM Punk's contract. So that only leads me to speculate that if they're not going to buy him out of his contract, he's going to be back. Is that, if those reports are accurate, would that lead you to the same assumption?
I hope not.
Goodness.
I don't feel that way. I absolutely think that he has things to still give. I think that things need to be different, but that's not here nor there. So let me throw a different scenario at you. You remember whenever WWE bought WCW, and they chose not to buy out the contract of Hogan, Nash, Sting, Hall, basically all of the big contracts in WCW.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
They were just going to continue to pay them, but keep them off of TV.
Precisely. They kept collecting money, but they just couldn't appear on WWE TV. That's the other solution, is that they keep CM Punk on the books, but he just doesn't come back to TV. I think that'd be silly. But like, if Tony's like, hey man, we'll give you, let's say he's owed, I don't know, $50 million. He's like, hey man, we'll give you $20 million and cut you loose in 6 months. And Punk's like, nope, I want $50 million. And Tony's like, all right, like what are you gonna do? Like Tony gave him a contract. That's what you do when you have a contract. You have to pay the man.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't want to make assumptions. I will
if I come
say,
across those articles again, I'll forward them in the chat just to see if it looks legit to you.
I will say this, that last week in Chicago, the Thanksgiving Eve tradition of Dynamite in Chicago, which was, the Chicago crowd was better than the New Jersey crowd for Full Gear. Like Kenny Omega said something earlier in the day with somebody about how it's it's not about the Elite versus CM Punk. Like, that the fans just need to let it go.
Mm-hmm.
Which is innocuous in and of itself. And then the Elite come out to fucking mega heat at, in Chicago last week.
Mhm.
Mega heat. And then Kenny Omega proceeds to do go to sleep, like taunt, and then follows up with hitting a go to sleep. I'm not saying there's a possibility, but it's one of those situations like, so you're telling me there's a chance. I don't think Kenny Omega goes out and does that stuff if things are still kind of dicey between the company and Punk.
He's not going to go out and stir up further trouble.
No, because that's not who Kenny Omega is. Kenny Omega has never been a shit stirrer ever in his life. Even in Brawl Out, he was not like, he wasn't the instigator. He was there as the Bucks like buddy. The Bucks were there, or the Bucks were the ones that were there to like start shit with CM Punk.
Okay.
So I for Kenny Omega to do that was very out of character. So I just feel like
you almost think he was teasing something as like getting the crowd worked up,
right?
And eventually, when this Best of 7 series is over, we could see a Punk return and feud with Kenny Omega.
And I mean, a lot of it depends on Punk's injury. Like, that's what's lost in all of this. Like,
is it a torn pec?
I don't think it was a torn pec. I think it was something with his elbow or his bicep.
Okay.
We've been talking about, should CM Punk get fired? Will CM Punk get fired? What about the Elite? Will they be suspended? Like, let's not forget that all happened in August, and it's December. That was months ago.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, at this point, if CM Punk gets healthy, and if there are mutual talking points, like, absolutely, I think that there's still room for CM Punk and AEW.
I had to go back out.
What are these background conversations that are happening here?
Sorry.
We run a professional show here.
Damn it, Pat! This is a professional podcast.
This is something I'd expect out of me. I mean, wait a minute.
Damn it, Ransom.
Oh.
Damn it, Beef.
Okay.
Where did these come from, Andrew?
Where did they come from? Shh, quiet down in the background. Do your picks better.
Damn.
Wow.
Shots fired. Oh shoot! Well, I'm derailed here. I got derailed. So you're thinking that because Kenny Omega did that, let's just say, internet reporting aside, that they're no longer interested in buying out CM Punk's contract. You think because of what Kenny Omega said about letting it go and then going out and doing the GTS taunt and the actual GTS itself, that right there is kind of proof in the pudding that they're working through the problems and we're going to see a CM Punk return at some point? Because if there's no possibility of seeing a CM Punk return and there's still bad blood and hard feelings and things still haven't been worked out in the back, Kenny Omega is not just going to go out there and go into business for himself. Like that taunt and that move would probably have been with CM Punk's blessing. Is that what you're saying?
I think so.
Oh boy.
And I mean, like, let's not forget that, FTR is big fans of Punk's.
Right.
They probably carry some clout. I think that their deal is up in early 2023 too. So, like, you essentially could, all right, let's play the fantasy booking game. Let's say Tony Khan lets Punk out of his contract as a buyout or whatever. and that FTR's contract comes up in 2023, early 2023, you're setting up big-time WrestleMania returns for 3 huge names.
Oh, I wasn't thinking about Mania returns. Yeah. Because FTR, were those were Triple H guys in NXT, right?
They sure were, man. They sure were.
So I would imagine if Triple H could get them back, he would want to. Is that right?
I would make that assumption.
And just seeing how much buzz CM Punk has generated over the past however many months, years, whatever, he's been back with AEW, and seeing the fan reactions and the viewership, are you imagining that, again, you said it yourself, Triple H is going to do what's best for business, pun aside. If that means bringing CM Punk back to WWE, if that's going to get more eyes on their product, if that's going to stir up more buzz, if that's going to get people going like, wow, look, look at the fallout from AEW, and now Punk and FTR are back in the WWE. You think Triple H would definitely pull that trigger?
I feel like it's a possibility, man. Just saying, we could absolutely see at WrestleMania this year, The Rock, Steve Austin, and CM Punk all have matches.
Wow. And FTR returning too.
Potentially. So man.
So
the good news is.
Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was go ahead. I was just gonna start the rap, but go ahead.
But I would imagine, just trying to think like from a business aspect, it would probably make sense for Tony Khan to want to try his hardest to work things out with CM Punk if it meant both keeping Punk in AEW for the eyes on that prize and also using that as kind of a bargaining chip to renew FTR's contracts. Because even if FTR aren't, regularly featured on AEW television, they're still the Ring of Honor tag champs. And knowing full well that Triple H would probably bring them back in a heartbeat and utilize them frequently on television, I would think that that's even more fuel under Tony Khan's fire to want to work out a deal with Punk and keep FTR happy so that they re-up their contract in early 2023 when it comes up. Is that an accurate line of thinking?
I mean, I absolutely think that could be, the case. I mean, we've been talking about it ad nauseum for a while now, where that if they could put aside their differences, this whole thing could lead to a big time money match between Punk and Omega.
And I guess too, thinking along the lines of the, what do they call them? The triple title. What's the triple title called? The trios championship.
Trios, yep.
So, I mean, you could even potentially see, I would think, not only the possibility of a feud between Punk and Kenny Omega, but if the Bucks come out on top and win back these trios titles, think of the banger matches that the Elite could have versus Punk and FTR for the trios championship.
Yes, sir.
I think that would be a great way to get both Punk feuding with Omega and FTR into, a big time on TV constantly slot, with having them either win the trios championship or having a big feud with the Elite, having Punk be their third man.
I absolutely, that's what I'm saying. Like, I really believe that there's money to be made here. So yeah, if they can all make this shit work, I think we could. And I mean, I get that CM Punk is gonna have his detractors. That's fine. People hate people. That's I get it. But I mean, at the end of the day, like if the Elite can put it aside, and Punk can put it aside, and TK can put it aside, who the fuck are we? You know?
Right. And I mean, if people are going to tune in for it, and if people are going to buy pay-per-views for it, and if people are going to buy merch, those people are going to speak louder than the detractors, because those are the people that are putting in ratings, views, and spending their money. So it doesn't matter, I think, how many detractors you have of CM Punk. If people are willing to show up on TV and buy pay-per-views to see him and are willing to buy his merch, you can have all the detractors in the world.
Put their money where their mouth is, as it were.
Yeah. Yep. As long as the money and the viewership is flowing in, it doesn't matter how many detractors you have, you're still a draw for that company.
Well, gentlemen, I think we have. I think we've hit our limit. The old molars are extending, so I believe it is time for the crispiest of Mexican foods, the burrito. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy day and your busy holidays to sit with us, the Pittsburgh Piledriver Podcast, featuring the Midcard Maniac. And I hope that you continue to do so as we go through the years. Once again, we'd like to throw out wonderful messages to our sponsors. Thank you to Sean Tischler, the work that he does with IWC, bringing it to Clearfield, Pennsylvania, and all the work that he does with independent wrestling. He's got his finger on the pulse there, and really hasn't been hawking too many family garage door windows anymore. So I think we're okay on that.
Mm-hmm.
But we're happy to have him as a sponsor as always. And of course the excuse me, the always effervescent and wonderful to watch Tiger Bomb Tommy, and catch him over on Casual Gaming Dad on Facebook, on YouTube, on the Twitch machine. I believe it's Casual Gaming Dad at E4. You can see him do some God of War streaming, amongst other things that he likes to do, and even see us play Among Us on Tuesday nights. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention our fallen compatriot, Poot the Bard. Hope that he is on the mend, and hope to be back at full strength next week with those two knuckleheads coming back. But thanks for the Midcard Maniac for filling in amicably. Props to the Madman Ransom on the other side of the mic here, doing his best to make sure that I don't just keep talking the entire show. And from your cruiserweight champion of the world, Beef the Legend, I want to thank you all so much for listening. Have a wonderful day. That's it. The end. No stinger.
I still hate the flares.
Damn it.